I've been at Netflix for 11 years. Gib hired me as the PM in charge of personalization. Worked for Gib for my first 4 years and eventually became his successor. I oversee the product and design at Netflix. And today I'm going to be talking about personalization. We all know the power of personalization. We all know the millions of books and news stories and all the music you can get out there and the overwhelming choice that the internet gives us. And boy, there's so much to choose from. And if you could just personalize, you could shrink it down to something manageable. Personalization, all the years we've been testing at Netflix, I kind of thought of this, a little dim on there. Anyone recognize this movie? Squint a little bit. It's a classic scene from Jaws, 1974, arguably still Steven Spielberg's best movie. In Jaws, there they are, the two veterans going after sharks with all their scars. That's how I feel after doing over 1,000 A/B tests at Netflix, because if you're A/B testing well, you're not succeeding most of the time, you're failing most of the time, but you're learning along the way. So instead of talking about the power of personalization, I'm going to flip it and talk about the perils of personalization. I would love, in an interesting way, to get into the moral challenges and the ethical side. I'm going to save that topic. I'm happy to talk about that offline anytime. Come back at a different time and talk about the ethics. I'm more going to talk about where all the scars came from, about what we learned over, I'm going to show you, pull you inside some of the learnings we got out of all those tests about personalization. So, everyone wants at some time in their life a recommendation. Isn't this sweet? A nice dessert, a nice moment where I can't decide what I want. But how about this? How about a recommendation from a machine learning algorithm, right? Everyone wants that. That's just human instinct. And how about if that algorithm pushes a recommendation at you? When someone pushes something at you, what's your reflex? What are you going to do? You're going to push it back as damn fast as you can, because no one wants anything pushed at them. So, first thing is pushing instead of pulling. You don't want to say recommendation. Even the word, through many tests we found out, is anathema now at Netflix. When I see recommendation from any of the design team or a copy team throwing in that word, I go, oh, don't use that word. You have to make it softer. Maybe suggestion at best. But even that isn't good. Pushing something out to someone, that's not really the best way to go. What you want to do is just bubble up to the top what you think is best for someone. Don't say this is their pick. Don't say this is their recommendation. Just bubble it up to the top, and then they'll find what they want, and they won't know that this machine learning algorithm is working hard in the background to find the perfect thing for you, or you. It just is there. So let me share a quick story about this one. I was presenting to a big crowd at Netflix. It was all internal, probably 300 people there, just giving updates about what the team was working on and so forth. And then I go, any questions about anything? Throw me some hard questions. All the way in the back, very quiet, Korean-American woman stands up, and she goes, I've been wondering, I've been seeing in my Netflix at the top all of these Korean dramas, all these Korean soaps. It seems like they do it. She worked for the company. It seems like they do extremely well. How come we don't buy more of these things? I want more of them. And I was like, yes. She didn't know we were recommending anything to her. We just pushed up to the top what she wanted. So that's what we want out of it. Even Gib, when he was talking about his daughter gets popular on Netflix, we A/B tested, literally popular on Netflix, where the most popular stuff was laid up in that row. Then we tried calling it popular at Netflix with members like you, and we only showed people in your taste cluster, people who have similar things that they watch to you, and we pushed that. That didn't work. Putting the most popular stuff didn't work. What worked is calling it popular on Netflix, but still showing popular with Netflix with members like you. You feel like you're seeing the popular stuff, but you're seeing whatever your version is of Korean soaps, and you're happy and we're happy, and we win what we want to win at Netflix, which is the moment of truth. When someone comes up and they decide, damn, they want to melt into their couch and they want to relax, we want them to go to us. And if we bubble up something great to the top, because the average Netflix member will look at 40 or 50 titles, and they'll spend 1.5 to 2 seconds on each. And then they move on. Nothing here. And they'll go on to another entertainment option. So we got to grab them, those first 40 or 50 titles. Peril number 2, relying on explicit feedback. If you want personalization to work, you got to know something about your users. So how are you going to find it out? Ask them. See what's going on. So when I got to Netflix, I was working for Gib, I was thrown on my knees as a product manager, and I was told, genuflect underneath the stars. But the stars didn't look as beautiful as this. The stars looked like this, which was, damn, you gotta get, and it's like, send a product manager on a task and give them a metric and go get him, go get him, boy, go get it. And that was me. It was like, I was gonna raise that metric, come hell or high water. You tell me that's good for the business? I wasn't a very thinking K9 at the time, but I was going after that metric. And Gib was alluding to before, we raised it. But it was a false idol that needed to be smashed, because we did the Netflix prize, a few of you heard of, we got the ratings to be better, and then we did a test. We put 400,000 people in one cell, and they got the improved version of predicted ratings. So we can tell exactly how much you're gonna like Schindler's List or Napoleon Dynamite. And then we put 400,000, which is the old algorithm. And how much, we're a subscription business. So our core metric should not be this. Our core metric should be retention. How many people are paying into the next month? They're voting with their wallet. They're deciding if the service is valuable to them. It didn't move retention, as flat as can be. We got amazing publicity, that was all great, but it didn't move the business. Picking the right metric is hugely important, and explicit taste, when it comes especially to an entertainment service, is work. Like I said, you want to melt into your upholstery, you want to enjoy some comedy or drama, you don't want to rate at least 50 titles to fulfill some product manager's dream. You just want to watch great entertainment. And so that was the idea. Now, there are things where people will say, also with explicit, when they tell you what they want. And this is because we have a disease in society today, and that disease is we're a bunch of social posers and we can't help ourselves. There is the image that we have online, and that image we have online is very different than that image of who we really are without any imagery. And so people, when you ask them, what are your favorite movies and TV shows, you get answers like this. And occasionally, these are true. But much more frequently, people will say this, and this will be the truth. And I know that time and time again through lots of scars and A/B testing. So if you ask them what they like, you're more likely to get the misimpression, and you're going to recommend stuff, but you're not going to tell them you're recommending. You're going to bubble up to the top stuff that they don't necessarily are going to love. You're going to lose that moment of truth, and it's not going to be good for the business. There are exceptions. It's not like we don't do explicit questions that we don't ask, what do you think of this title? Or that company should never do this. So I threw out a few exceptions. First off, the first day they're brand new, cold starting is important, but you got to cold start with the right information. I could go deep into that, but I'll keep it moving along. So you got to ask them some questions at least to get things going. I'm destroying all the scenery. The next thing is it's helpful for the user to feel complicit in the service. So in other words, if in these machine learned algorithms that are bubbling up things to the top, some people get hip to it and they know, wow, not everyone is loving these Korean dramas. They're recommending stuff to me, aren't they? The more they feel part of it, like they added to the system, that they were the ones controlling with strings, no matter how strong or weak those strings are, that's helpful. So make them complicit. And the last thing is, look, I'm in the business of movies and TV shows. That shouldn't be something you put a lot of work in. If I'm buying a new house, of course, explicit things of telling, this is what I want out of a school district, this is what I want out of the size of the house, this is the kind of neighborhood I want, that kind of thing I'm willing to fill out because that's powerful and important. And it's a one-off thing that I'll be basically cold starting someone. So it depends on the service, it becomes the business, but if you can get implicit data about what they do and use that data versus what they say, much, much, much more powerful. Okay, the third thing is privacy. Like I said, I can't dive into the deep ethics of this. I'm just going to give you a couple of quick notes on it. But I did, over the couple of last days, you guys might have seen yesterday, there was a lot of news online about the little echo chamber that Facebook creates that maybe led to the whole Trump-Hillary, I won't use the word I was going to say because all of us are entitled to our points of view. But what led to the outcome of the election was we all lived in our little bubbles. We lived in, if I was a Hillary supporter, it seemed like she's going to win. Everyone's talking about her. And all the articles I'm getting on Facebook pop to the top are all positive and it's all great. And if I'm a Trump supporter, I'm on my community. And we're all preaching to the converted and we're seeing articles, whether accurate or not, that are coming to us and so forth. So there are things about privacy and personalization and self-fulfilling things that could be challenging. I'll just give you a couple of observations from the Netflix perspective. First off, I'm in an easy position. My team is in an easy position because in the end, we're a subscription service. So I'm not as unlucky as my peers who work at companies like Google and Facebook, because you guys, if anyone's out there today, you have two masters, the customer and the advertiser. And you're getting all this amazing data from the customer that's so tempting to share with the advertiser, because that's how you're going to make your business hum. We're a subscription service. We'll keep all that data just about making the service better for you, you, and you, because we're basically on our knees saying, subscribe for one more month and you'll make us happy. And hopefully that's in our mutual benefit. So it's much easier with a subscription service to gather data and keep it about a user to help personalize their service, because we don't have to betray anything. I'm not saying it's not powerful and important for the Googles, Facebooks, and every other company that can leverage this. I'm just saying they have to be more careful, and they have a lot more ethical forks in the road that they have to figure out what to do. Not as much for us. All we have to do is make the service better, and we'll hold your data secret to you. So everyone is, yes, conscious of, wow, they're gathering all this information about me. What are they doing? But they're not equally conscious, and that really depends nowadays on where they live. As Netflix has gone global, I've understood different perspectives, different countries, how they think about personalization, how they think about privacy, how concerned are they. When I first started with my team back in beginning of 2006, we were doing a lot of qualitative research. We were listening to customers around the country, and we were asking them about, do you know this is personalized? And it was a very novel concept back then. Amazon was doing a lot of it. Not many other companies were. And they were a little freaked out, and we would hear the term in the US, Big Brother came up at least one. You have a focus group, someone's going to say Big Brother. I haven't heard that in years in the US. But I started hearing it in Espanol in 2011, when we started doing qualitative research in Mexico and through South America and Portuguese and Brazil. They were new to it. They needed to get comfortable with, there's a real upside to this. You do want to be cautious and aware, but there's a real upside. Now, we've expanded, for a couple of years we've been in Europe, and there are some countries where in their societies this is a very valued thing about privacy. Europe comes to mind. Germany really comes to mind. There's a lot of legislation. There's a lot of things to be careful of. There's a lot of things you have to do to prove to them, no, we're getting rid of that data. We're only using it for what we need it for. We're not selling it, et cetera, et cetera. That's both, that's mostly a good thing, but I think it could be a little misguided, because look where the world's going. Look how much data is around. And we might as well get comfortable with it, because this is the reality that we're faced with. And there is a totally good thing. There is a power in personalization that makes our lives easier, not only in entertainment, but lots of examples in education and healthcare, et cetera, quite profound things in our life. Personalization can have a big power, but privacy is becoming something that we can try and pretend to protect, but it's not going to be something that we'll succeed at. What we don't want is the China situation, in my opinion. The China situation is, yes, they're not in, privacy, they've given up on the idea of privacy, but it's very one-sided. One side gets all the information and not the other side. If the consumer got all the information that the government had, maybe they would find their own little, personalization utopia. So yes, I do strongly believe personalization is here to stay. The opportunity is ripe and right and huge. So let's avoid, hopefully my scars will help you guys avoid such ugliness, and you could come out cleanly applying some of these lessons and many more to make it hum in the future. Thank you.